Okay. All right. Hi. So my son, Ethan, quit baseball about a week before his high school freshman year tryouts and instead decided to pursue pole vault. And in the 2 brief years that followed his decision to ditch the sport that he so aptly excelled at his entire life, he made varsity in both his freshman and sophomore years. And based on his age, he's now ranked 9th in Texas and 42nd in the country. Which, I mean, holy shit. Like, next stop, Olympic gold. He's done so well that this year he qualified to compete at the Nike Outdoor Nationals at the University of Oregon, Nike Town, USA. Let's go to Oregon. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, but I've never seen these parts of the West Coast. You've got to really want to see them to get to where they are. When I was a kid, our vacations consisted of just camping on the coast. But one time we took our motorhome from Whidbey Island down to Anaheim so we could go to Disneyland. But we took I-5 the whole way. Not that I would have necessarily cared to see the coast at 11. Like so many road trips, I genuinely try not to be the person who has to stop every couple miles and turn around because I want to go take a photograph of something that I thought looked cool. We would never make it. But I mean, who doesn't want to see some logs? From there, it was off the 101 and on to 128 into Anderson Valley. Just some middle of nowhere road meditation. And I know I can sound exhausting talking not just about California, but the West Coast in general. But tough shit. We were drinking wine in a garden of lavender and rosemary, and it was 90 degrees. And an hour later, I'm wearing denim on denim, standing in the fog, staring at the Pacific Ocean, and it might be 60 degrees. And I love it. Welcome to Mendocino. This place reminds me so much of where I'm from. The place I still call home, Whidbey Island. The weather, which I love, it's right on the water. It's got these little houses with cedar shingles. overpriced stores. For those familiar, it would be like if Coopville and Langley had a trust fund baby. This place is like a memory that you've never actually experienced, but somehow still feels like you're reliving a moment of your life that never transpired. Before we set out, we had marked a few places on the map that we wanted to stop and see and maybe photograph. One of those places was Glass Beach in Fort Bragg, California. If you Google this beach, it looks incredible. At least it used to. Now, they call it Glass Beach because in the early 20th century, it was abundant with sea glass from years of dumping garbage into an area of the coastline north of town. It shouldn't be called Glass Beach anymore. What they should call it is assholes who bring buckets to steal the glass from Glass Beach. Beach. Because that's what it is. It's just a tiny cove tucked behind some sea rocks filled with people who bring buckets to steal the glass and take it home and decorate their poorly executed nautical themed guest bathroom. The glass thieves who were actively stealing shit, which is technically only discouraged by the park rangers. Not only were they stealing the glass from Glass Beach, they were also kind of stealing the wind out of my creative sails, because even though this place is beautiful without the sea glass, I didn't come here to see some fucking rocks. So I just kind of wandered around, occasionally looking through my viewfinder trying to find a composition that I liked enough to photograph, and I just couldn't. That was until I saw this singular mussel shell. Don't know what it was about this little thing, but the only photos I ended up taking were of the smallest and most innocuous subjects. Shells, seaweed, a flower, but basically everything except Glass Beach. This camera has bellows and focuses different than most other cameras. The plane of focus can be razor thin. And the longer my ass stood hunched over trying to maintain focus, the more I could feel myself starting to sway and I could see the mussel shell drift in and out of focus. I'm genuinely surprised it's in focus. A few times on this road trip, as is the case with every other road trip, I see so many things that as I'm driving by, I have to talk myself out of turning around to go take a photograph because I passed something that may or may not make a decent frame. When I was a kid, my grandpa used to tell me stories about taking his horse Joe up in the mountains for days on these elk hunts. And ever since, elk have kind of occupied this unique space in my mind that when I see them now, I can kind of get lost. That's a really long-winded way to say that when I'm driving by a deer, I can say, oh, there was a deer. But when I drive by some elk, you turn your ass around and go take a picture. For a good stretch of the drive in far northern California, you're not actually driving on the coast. You might be miles inland. So go figure that when we were on these little stretches that hugged the coastline, it was socked in. Couldn't see shit. Normally that's my kind of weather, but not when I've got film loaded and I'm trying to actually see everything I've never seen before. We knew we were close to Crescent City on the map, and the closer time grew towards sunset, you could kind of see the sun very low on the horizon dancing through the trees. We came down out of those redwoods and just caught the sunset at Wilson Creek Beach. Son of a bitch. I'm looking through my viewfinder, waiting for a wave to crest because I know it's backlit and it will create this dark streak across the frame, and that will help redirect the viewer's attention and all that film school shit. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting. This wave isn't good enough. That wave isn't good enough. And the only thing I really accomplish is removing myself from what a goddamn beautiful moment I found myself in. That happens too much for me. The next morning, the bed at the Airbnb just happened to be perfectly positioned underneath the skylight to let the fullest amount of sun stream directly onto your face at the earliest possible moment. Once we got up and moving and all packed up, the sun was out, fully out, which after yesterday's disappointing drive kind of got me all worked up. Until the fog came in. There were a couple suggestions our host gave, and one of them was this 6-mile drive through the redwoods just outside of town. Now, I thought I had seen big trees when I visited Henry Cal Redwood State Park outside Santa Cruz, but holy shit, this place was like Fern Gully. You're reminded that there are places like this that still exist, that we're fortunate enough to still be able to experience. If I ever have a grandchild, I hope they're able to say the same thing. hard to find a shot. This whole trip was that way, seeing so many incredible things, but not being able to find a composition. It's hard to tell how much of that was me lacking and how much of that was just trying to enjoy and be present in the moment. I shot 5 rolls of film on this camera. That's 50 images, half of which I'm not really proud of. If I look at a photograph that I've taken and I don't immediately think, I'd print that and hang it on my wall, then is it good enough? Is it just okay? Is it even worth sharing? No, I don't think so. While the road trip was stunning and absolutely worth seeing, I'll probably never see it again, at least anytime soon. There's just so much else I want to see first, and so little time to even see a fraction of it. The whole point of making this drive was to watch Ethan compete at Outdoor Nationals in Eugene. To be able to see him accomplish things like this, they're numbered. To have to fly from Texas to California, road trip to Oregon, watch him compete for an hour, then drive 8 hours straight back to California and fly back to Texas. I'd do it over and over again. That would never be a problem. What the problem was this. The day before Ethan was set to compete at Nationals, he got hit by a car riding his bike. Bruised, swollen, couldn't bend it, let alone run, jump, or pole vault. Admittedly, I tried subtly to convince him that it wasn't worth competing to risk further injury. Chalk it up to shit luck and try like hell to qualify next year. But he's not one to let a little get hit by a car slow him down. The morning of the competition, the trainers worked on him for about an hour, giving him the full Friday Night Lights workup, probably. And after several rain delays, he was in it.
Oh, yes. Straighten a whole bunch of stuff out, but you're looking. Woo! Oh, yeah!
You could tell on his final attempt at just over 15 feet that whatever drugs they gave him were starting to wear off. I gave him the take a picture motion and he shook his head no. The kid does not like to lose. Out of about 80 kids that competed between 2 groups and one of only 5 sophomores to have made it this far, and a day after getting hit by a car, Ethan set a personal record. He placed 25th at Nationals. We had about an 8-hour drive back to California, and I didn't think I'd get to say goodbye. I could see him jogging on the other side of the track, and that was either to work at his knee or blow off some steam. I just happened to catch him on his way back. If you've got a competitive bone in your body, you know how much losing can sting, even when you know you didn't stand a chance in the first place. And no matter how many times Dad says he's damn proud of you.